Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Good Morning Lambeau. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Join alongside Tim in Green Bay, trying to get that diesel in us, getting woke up here on this glorious January 25th. Nice little Saturday morning to get up and talk some ball. Tim, how you doing, man? You got that cup full over there.
Good morning.
I feel that. I pulled one of those woke up before the alarm went off and was like, feel good. I got 30 more minutes. So went back to sleep, woke back up, slept through 2 alarms, like, oh crap, I overslept. So
you sound like me, man.
You guys have been there, I'm sure, right? So
sure.
Shout out to everybody in the chat. We got Josh Martin in here. We got Ron Samble, Miss Joyce Martha. We got Cannonball John, Prince, Blake B, Green Ranger. Good to see everybody. Mike Berry in the house. Thank you for dropping in there, Mike. We'll just dive into it, Tim. I know we're going to hit, I promise we're going to hit on the prospects for the East-West Shrine Bowl coming up. We're going to kind of give you guys a little bit of a preview of that. That's coming up next Thursday night, or this coming Thursday, I should say. That's going to be a fun one to watch. Obviously, there's some big names there. Maybe not quite as many big names as the Senior Bowl, but still there are quite a few for that Shrine Bowl. And Tim, actually, I went ahead and pulled this information. We'll go ahead and hit on it before we walk through the news, and then we'll come back to those top prospects. Here is the coaching staff for the East team in the East-West Shrine Bowl. And I'll read them to you so you don't have to squint or anything here. But the two that you want to keep an eye on, obviously, are the Green Bay Packers coaches, Eddie Gordon, who's going to be coaching the offensive line, and then Sean Duggan, or Dugan, however you pronounce his name, is going to be coaching the linebackers, okay? So, it doesn't mean, oh, man, the Packers are definitely going to draft an offensive lineman or a linebacker, but in my opinion, it gives you a lot more information on those specific positions. Now, we all have talked this entire, offseason, albeit it's pretty early in the process. You're probably going to need 2 or 3 offensive linemen, whether it's in the draft plus the free agency or just in the draft in general, right? So I think that's great that we've got Eddie Gordon there coaching the offensive line, because he's going to be able to gather a lot more information than maybe coaches just watching from other position groups. They're going to be focused on their work for the weekend, or for Thursday night anyway, all week long, really. And then, of course, Sean Dugan. I've heard it pronounced both ways. How would you say it, Tim? Is it Dugan or Duggan?
I would say Duggan.
I think I listen to too many podcasts, so I hear multiple.
We got to hear him say his name, and then we'll know how to.
That's how that works. No doubt. So pretty cool, though. We're going to get a little more information. Not that we will, but the coaching staff a little more information on the linebackers of the East team as well as the offensive line. Don't you think here?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And really what's really neat about this is you get to see – well, we don't really get to see as much as the coaches do, but the coaches get to see how these top prospects, handle themselves around NFL coaches.
Yes.
You're going to have an NFL coaching staff basically put together to run this practice and this game for you. It's a chance for the coaches to really see how coachable guys are, how receptive they are, how fast they grasp concepts, things like that. And it's really their first kind of look at, NFL coaching, really. So I think it's cool.
Yeah, I do too. So just want to put that out there because we had mentioned it briefly last night, and I went ahead and pulled the entire East team. There's obviously no Green Bay Packers coaches on the West team, but going to be really cool to see that all unfold there at the East-West Shrine Bowl. I always called it the East-West Shrine Game, but evidently it's technically called the East-West Shrine Bowl. So I had a couple people correct me. You know how that goes, Tim, on social media. They'll let you know when you mess up. So definitely appreciate that. But let's see what else.
Props when you're right, but boy, if you screw up, they'll let you know about it, right?
Yeah. Oh, no doubt about it, man. No doubt about it. All right, let's see here. Anything else? I think we're good. We're all caught up there in the chat. Let's go to the news. I tweeted out Jerry going to Jerry. Tim, didn't see this one coming. The Cowboys are hiring offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer as their new head coach. Jerry Jones tells at Adam Schefter. Now, listen, I'm not saying
all of that.
Right. I'm not saying Brian Schottenheimer is a bad coach. I'm just simply saying Tim summed it up perfect. After all that, This is who we got. Now watch him go out there and just dominate him. That'll be what happened. That'd be hilarious, wouldn't it?
No, that's Marty Schottenheimer's son, right?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the way I understand it. Yeah. And listen, Marty Schottenheimer caught a lot of flack for not being able to win the big one and this and that. Hell of a coach, hell of a football mind, hell of a guy. His dudes, if you loved him, you loved him. If you didn't like him, you probably hated him. That's been pretty widespread in terms of information coming out of his old training camps and things like that. It seemed like some players thought he picked on him a little bit. Others thought he hung the moon, right? And I think that can be said for a lot of coaches. But yeah, I'm pretty sure this is Marty Schottenheimer's son, not a nephew or something like that. So,
okay.
But
but typical Jerry Jones, right? We've heard everything from Deion Sanders to like who else was on the Dallas rumor mill there. And we even heard Pete Carroll for a while before the news came out about the Raiders. All this just to make a promotion.
Yeah. Blake B says, there's a gleam, man. There's a gleam. Still think the Chargers were foolish to let him go. If you guys have never seen that clip, it's pretty cool. He was real big on he was a motivating coach. He was one that loved the speeches, loved to try different angles to get his guys, get the best out of his guys from an emotional standpoint. I don't think he could coach in today's game. He could. He just couldn't bring that approach. That doesn't seem to work. Dan Campbell is probably the closest thing we have to that. And Dan Campbell is more of a I care about you guys, as opposed to let me say something unique to try to get their attention. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you got people like Matt LaFleur, who's just, look, do your damn job. Do it to the utmost, potential. Make sure you're in the right spot. Don't miss your key. Very technical play calling type coach, right? Those seem to be taking over the league right now, in my opinion. So, going to be interesting though to see what happens down there in Big D and how long he may or may not last under Jerry Jones.
Man, things ain't been right ever since the Packers came down there and spanked you guys.
That's a fact. That is a fact. Let me see if there's anything. I think there was a couple other things that we may have missed here. Oh, I wanted to point this out real quick. I got somebody had replied to a tweet. And again, I don't know if this is completely true. I'm assuming it is. I like to think that people are telling the truth and they know what they're talking about. And I screw up a lot with that because I make plenty of mistakes myself. But this Mad Stork 83 replied to our mock from last night and said, Marcus Weir will be a steal and pro ready at Montana State. He was coached by legendary Al Johnson, who coached Tony Sperano when coaching in Dallas.
You coached Tony Soprano, man?
Yeah, when he said it was
Sperano. I said Tony Soprano.
Yeah, we're not talking about Bada Bing here. We're talking
forget about it.
The other Bada Bing. So yeah, he said Al Johnson was the smartest offensive lineman he's ever coached. So obviously, I don't know much about Al Johnson. Matt Stork seems to have a lot of respect for him. So just, when you hear Montana State, we're constantly thinking, right? We're constantly thinking with Montana State. That's small school. He may not, and all that applies, but it seems like Al Johnson, the offensive line coach there, is or one of the coaches, I'm assuming. Let's see. He is coached by, it just says he was coached by, it could have been head coach, could have been the offensive line coach. But yeah, just keep that in mind, right? Maybe
we nailed it in our mock last night then.
Exactly. Put him in the Hall of Fame already,
Yeah, let's go.
All right, some other news out of Chicago here as they continue to look for an OC. Now, listen, I don't think this is a crazy important hire for the Chicago Bears. And the reason being is because, Ben Johnson is going to be running that offense, right? Yep. It's kind of like the OC in Green Bay. It's important, don't get me wrong, but that the offense in Green Bay does not run through Adam Stenavich. Let's be honest. It's Matt LaFleur's got his hands all over it, right? So here was the news. Ian Rappaport said the Bears have interviewed Titans quarterback coach Bo Hardegree for OC, source said. He was on the staff with Ben Johnson with the Dolphins. Let's see what else it says here. I should have expanded it. Hardegree has experience with developing quarterbacks with the Raiders. He took over play calling in 2023 and had a winning record with a rookie quarterback. So there's another guy that's being interviewed for that OC spot. Again, I don't think it's like crazy important news to him, but we're keeping our eye on the rest of the North to see how these coaching hires shake out, because obviously they hired Antoine Randall to be their passing game coordinator and their wide receiver coach, right? Yeah. So they're looking for someone to come in and kind of kind of help him, is what it sounds like. I wouldn't be surprised if Antoine Randall has as much say as the OC that's hired there. You know what I mean? And
Right.
you got to tip your cap to Ben Johnson, because by doing that, you get Antoine Randall, I think would be one of the hotter commodities coming out of the Detroit coaching staff. You get him in-house without him being OC. And people go, why does it matter, Clayton? I'll tell you why it matters. If teams come calling next year for Antoine Randall, all he's got to do is promote him to OC and he keeps him. That's Belichick 101. But what do you think?
Really, a guy like Ben Johnson's probably just looking for a guy to call his plays, right? Or do you think he's going to call plays?
I think Ben Johnson's going to call the plays.
Yeah.
I feel pretty,
Okay.
definitely. Let's go ahead and address this. Donovan Schilling was freaking out last night, and I thought we talked about Al Harris. He said, Al Harris is with the Bears. We already discussed this. I'm freaking out a little bit. Here's my take on the Al Harris thing. I love Al Harris. I think Al Harris was a great player. I think Al Harris is a good coach. But are we forgetting that he was a part of a coaching staff that just got crap canned? And here's the other thing. If he's so good, Donovan, how come more teams weren't lined up to hire him as DC? I'm not saying he's a bad coach, but listen, do what you want. But you keep bringing it up in the chat, and you sound like you're terrorized by the fact that Al Harris is going to be in Chicago.
Yeah, it's not worth getting that upset about.
It's going to be okay, but
yeah, we're still going to beat them. It's okay. And the Bears will continue to suck. All will be right in the North. Don't worry.
You guys remember last year, it was like, Al Harris was this big hot commodity. Like he was, like everybody was talking like that needs to be the DC. That needs to be the DC.
Yeah, I remember that. They wanted him as defensive coordinator.
Right. Now imagine if we had done that last year and brought Al Harris in. I about said Al Davis. Well, that's a funny image on the sideline. Al Harris in as the defensive coordinator, right? And you miss out on Jeff Hafley. Right. What does the defense look like? We're probably sitting here this year going, man, we missed on Al Harris. We got to get a new DC in here, right? You never know. So yeah, definitely not concerned about it. But
no, and that's not to drag Al Harris at all, but it's just kind of like, take this with a little bit of calm, take a breath, realize that, things in the North are changing when it comes to coaching staffs on all four of these teams in our division. We're looking to make hires. Detroit, Minnesota, Chicago are looking to make hires. Things are going to look a little different next year. If anything, the one thing you want to freak out about something, we should freak out about our own offense right now. And, is Matt LaFleur going to tweak this call sheet, and are we going to tweak the offense and not be predictable, because it's the writing's on the wall. It looks like a lot of the league is starting to figure things out with some of the things Matt likes to do. So we need to look at ourselves more than we need to look at, our opponents, I think, right now at this point in time. And I wouldn't be freaked out about any hires that are going on right now.
Blake B says, Donovan, listen to Ben and
get ready to go.
All right, there you go. That's all you need to know. Now, you got to be able to evolve. The old saying from, I think it was from Moneyball, adapt or die, right? And, there's a lot of conversation about going for it on fourth down right now, Tim. You guys know how I feel about it. I'm stuck in my old ways. I would rather kick the field goal than go for it. But and when you're on your own side of the 50 there, you think, okay, that's even more aggressive if you go for it. But the reality is all four teams that are left are in the top 5 in converting on fourth downs. So when I say all 4 of the remaining teams are in the top 5 in the entire NFL on converting on fourth downs. It's obvious those teams put emphasis on it, because they would not have tried it so often if they hadn't put emphasis on it through training camp and getting ready for the season. You could tell that was their game plan. That's going to be a trend that continues to trend in that direction, in my opinion. I'm not happy about it, but it's probably coming. And by the end of next year, who knows? I may be sitting here going, yep, I'm on board. Got to go for it on fourth down more times than not, because they did it. I want to say it was more than 50% of the time or something like that. It was something crazy. So obviously we witnessed it with Detroit firsthand, and obviously with the Philadelphia Eagles. They get within a couple of yards on a fourth down, they're going to do the tush push. So maybe we're pressing into that a little bit more with Tucker Kraft and our ability to do our version of the tush push, or what they call it, the cheese squeeze, I think is what Larry called it on the telecast. I like that a lot. So, or on the broadcast rather. But I wouldn't be too concerned with Al Harris. But again, if you want to worry, that's cool, man. Do your thing. Let's see here. Donovan Schilling says, I never wanted him as DC, but he's a good leader. That's what I'm saying, Tim. Man, it's all caps and exclamation points. Okay,
Yeah, I'm not saying you were one of those people that wanted him as the
Right.
DC. There were some knuckleheads calling for that last year, and he is a good leader. I understand. I mean, he's not going to have a job on anyone's staff if he's not good at what he does. I'm just saying there's no need to be fearful or worried right now. You know, we respect our opponents, but we don't fear them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, I'm not concerned about it at all. I think he's a good coach. Every game, guys, is going to come down to probably less than 5 plays. Less than 5 plays in the game will be the deciding factor of that game. In my opinion, their new passing game coordinator, Al Harris, is not going to be the deciding factor of whether they beat the Packers or not.
Yep.
It's going to be whether we make the plays at the crucial times, whether we protect the football, whether we control the middle eight, whether we control the explosives on defense and we hit explosives on offense. And it's going to come down. That's why we do Chalk Talk. And originally my plan with Chalk Talk was just 10 plays. Here are the 10 most important plays. But the problem is we've got people, hey, man, love Chalk Talk. Let's make it longer. So, all right, let's extend it to 15 plays. And now we're typically about 20 plays. Within those 20 plays or 15, however many we decide on any given, game that we break down, most of the time you can pick 5 plays out of those 20 and go, yeah, those are the ones that decided to get. Sometimes you can see 1 or 2 where you're like, wow, if that goes in the other direction, you win that ball game. That's why you can't get too caught up on this, an assistant coach coming in is going to be, wow, that's the difference maker, right? You want great coaches on your staff, of course. I'm just not concerned about it. Again, no one's saying you were saying that last year, Donovan. We're just simply saying, I remember the chatter. It wasn't just one person or 3 people. There were a ton of people saying, bring Al Harris home, DC, DC, DC.
Like I said, Packer fans, we love our names. We love our big names.
And I remember us specifically saying, at least I know my opinion was, I thought you guys agreed with it, was he has 0 experience as a defensive coordinator.
Yep.
And then they bring in Hafley, who was kind of this dark horse, right? And it's like, well, Jeff Hafley only had 1 year of DC experience with co-defensive coordinator with Ohio State, and they did a great job that year, obviously. And then he goes and he's the head coach at BC, so it's like he's seen what it's like to be a head coach at a big-time. I consider BC a big-time program. I think if you're, a team that's been in the top 25 in the last 10 years, you got to have something going for you, right? And obviously, especially during the Matt Ryan time at Boston College, they had a really solid program. So you got someone who had head coaching experience as opposed to bringing someone in who didn't even have defensive coordinator experience, right? So that's just kind of how I see that stuff. So, again,
and let's not forget, he is going to the Bears, and the Bears
still suck.
Got it.
That won't change, right?
Exactly, unless something changes from the top, right? Donovan in the chat says, no, that was supposed to be 2 separate comments. I was strongly agreeing with Tim about the worry about Matt LaFleur being able to adjust. That's it, gents. Love you. I love you, Big. I love you, dog. All right. Appreciate you swinging through. And again, man, just don't let that stuff bother you too much, man. I wouldn't be too concerned with it. I really wouldn't.
Donovan's freaking out down there in Georgia, man. It's our Georgia boy.
Hey, I'd rather people be freaking out than not care at all. That's my opinion.
Heard it from a fan right here.
Blake B, we all still love Andy Reid in Green Bay, though. I'm not personally triggered by the Chiefs. Yeah, that's the thing too. Like with Andy Reid, in my opinion, Andy Reid, like coaches have been around for a while, Tim. Like you got some of these coaches, they've been in the league forever. Andy Reid is so damn lovable because I can't think of one moment where I go, that's kind of a douche move there, Andy. You know what I mean?
Me neither. Have you ever heard a player ever complain about playing for him? I never heard that either.
He's just a class act. He's one of the great, football minds. He's really good in Kansas City at understanding what he's got and playing within the game of, the cards that he's dealt, right? People see Kansas City and they think Mahomes, and you think, well, he's got Mahomes. That's why he's winning. Boys, Mahomes ain't even in the MVP conversation this year.
Yeah.
Last year, I remember Michael Lombardi getting roasted because he was saying Mahomes isn't playing good football. Like Andy Reid has found ways to do it with the defense now. It's not talked about enough how Kansas City had won that championship last year off the back of their defense. They're kind of doing it again this year. They really are. So I think it's a testament to Andy Reid and playing the game that's with him, that's in front of him.
That being said, I still think they're catching that L tomorrow. Let's go Buffalo.
Yeah. Oh, amen. Listen, I'm not telling you I'm rooting for the Chiefs. I hope the Chiefs fall flat on their face. But when I see Andy Reid hoist the Lombardi, it feels way different than some of those other people on that team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially the fans. The fans have become obnoxious. They're the new Patriots, right? So,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how I see that. Prince in the chat says, we have brought Donovan back off the ledge. We are doing God's work here, fellas, what Prince says. Yeah, so let's see here. Jacob Buss in the house.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Donovan said LOL, Prince.
Jacob Buss says in the house, what do y'all think about Thor Griffith as a late round gem? Listen, Jacob's still healing up here. He's been sick, been battling. I think he's been battling the old Rona. Miss Rona paid him a visit. So he's dealing with that. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jacob, but he gets his voice all the way back. He'll be back here soon. Thor Griffith as a late round gem to shore up our defensive line. Played mainly 3-tech, but has played a decent amount of 1, been solid the past 3 years. Defensive lineman in Louisville. He's on my short list, Jacob, as a matter of fact. Let me find my cheat sheet. I got so many.
How do you not look at a guy seriously named Thor?
On the defensive line.
Thor on the D line.
Yeah.
Bring the hammer. Let's go.
Yeah, so Jacob, I've got on my short list here, and this is going to get redone and finalized as soon as our board's done. I had Thor as one of 1, 2, 3, 4. I've only got 5 defensive tackles listed, 6 defensive tackles listed on my short list of like my favorite prospects. Thor's one of them. Thor's a dog. On the surface, let me go to my big board. I won't put it on the screen, but let me just see if he pops out on my big board as Emilio's been fighting through this and trying to put everything together. Tim, we've talked about Thor quite a bit, right?
We have.
I heard the page term. We have. Well, let me see what his social security number is. Let me see here. I'm trying to think.
Will Hardig is he's throwing me off here. Can we take Rap Sheet down off? I feel like he's staring at me.
Oh, you talking about this?
I feel like he's mad at me. Like I missed a play.
He looks depressed.
He does. He looks
does.
like a guy that.
Hey, he just finished his last swig of Woodford Reserve or something. Like, oh no, I'm out. You know, I don't know. Kind of a tough look there, but he'll fit right in with that awkward ass coaching staff in Chicago. I promise you that. Anyway, Thor. Let me find Thor on our sheet and see if he's sunk here lately. So Thor Griffith, Jacob, on our list, on our board as it sits right now, we've got him in the 139 spot. All right. Some things that stick out: 2022 PFF grade, not at his position. 2023, not at his position. 2024, 26th at his position. The PFF big board had him in the 230 spot when we took the early information down, and the consensus big board has him at 259. So keep in mind, when you hear 139, some people would probably say, oh, you're not very big on him at all. No, the consensus big board has him at 259. We have him 120 spots higher than the consensus big board and a little less than 100 spots higher than I think something like 91 spots higher than the PFF big board has them. So, and that's going to change again as we get a little later in our process. The board continues to shuffle around, but that's where we've got Thor at currently. So hope you get to feeling better there. Jacob Prince in the chat says Thor plus Hercules equals Super Bowl. Amen to that. Amen to that. It would be pretty cool to have Thor, Hercules, and Bang Gary on that defensive line. It's just a bunch of superhumans there. Absolutely love it. All right, let's switch gears, Tim. We're going to mess around and not get to what we said we were going to get to if I ain't careful here. All right. Let me just double check on Twitter. I think we're caught up. We are. So let's go over to this article real quick. And then I've actually got the prospects from the East-West Shrine Bowl that are going to be participating. This is a 33rd team article. It was written up by Kyle Krabs, and it says 2025 NFL Draft ranking top 10 prospects attending the East-West Shrine Bowl. Some of you may disagree with this list. This is this gentleman, Kyle Krabs' personal, opinion of who are the top 10 that are going to be there, okay? Number 1, he said Shavon Revel. It says Shavon Revel is not expected to participate in the actual game or practices as he continues to – this is driving me crazy. As he continues, the ads always get me, man. And we're actually signed up on 33rd team too, which is
Can you still get the ads? Ugh.
It's not is not expected to participate in the actual game or practices as he continues to rehab a knee injury. So, Emilio, when you hear this out there pulling a trailer somewhere, we need to add Siobhan Ravel into the red and just give ourselves a little, hey, look into the injury, okay? It says college eligibility short in September. Still, his presence at the event serves as a key opportunity to have more face time with the NFL scouts and decision makers who will help determine his fate in April. I don't want to read the entire article. You guys go give it a click for yourself. It's on my Twitter page. We had retweeted it, I think, yesterday, okay? But, again, this is another example, Tim, of how even though these players may not be participating because they're concerned about getting injured before the draft, or it might be something like this where they're dealing with an injury already, that's something that obviously they're still going to get the interview with these coaches and meet with them a little bit, and that's absolutely huge to get FaceTime. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
All right, next on the list, we've got interior defensive lineman, 3-tech, Kenneth Grant. The buzz around Michigan defensive tackles is usually directed at Mason Graham, and for good reason. However, Kenneth Grant's ability to play the point of attack as an interior defense defender is good enough to change the math for an NFL defense. All right, so there you go with that. Let's see what else we got here. Shedeur Sanders is going to be there. The story on Shedeur Sanders is well documented. Sanders, the son of NFL legend and Colorado head coach Deion Sanders, leads many Buffalo's prospects into Dallas. Shedeur, that's where the game's at. They're not saying that Dallas is going to draft all these guys.
Them. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, the East-West Shrine Bowl is going to be played at Dallas Cowboys Stadium, I believe. So,
got it.
Shedeur is in contention to be the top quarterback drafted in this year's class and is generally considered at worst to be QB2. Seeing what he does with his opportunities this week will be fascinating, although the interviews are just as big, if not bigger, than on-field work at the position. So it sounds like Shedeur Sanders will be playing in that game, Tim. That's a player. I know we're not in the market for a quarterback. However, I want to say this like I do every year. Do not be surprised if a quarterback somehow drops to the Packers, that they pull the trigger and take one.
Yeah,
That's
don't
it's
forget.
that important.
You have Brian Gutekunst Thompson as our GM.
Exactly. So
Teddy Jr.
Just when you think the quarterback position's safe, Goody will swoop in there and go, no, let's go ahead and add a little competition. So,
Yep.
All right. Next on the list, Zy Alexander. You guys know I took him in one of my mock drafts. It's Zarian maybe. Goes by Zy Alexander. Has had an indirect path to the NFL. He was a high school quarterback and wide receiver from Louisiana and committed to playing his college ball at Southeast Louisiana. Alexander found himself on the defensive side of the ball and earned FCS All-American honors in 2022 before transferring to LSU. He's a big corner with speed. Those usually don't wait long to get drafted. This is what we talk about all the time, Tim. Some of these guys, we may look at the PFF grade and think, and then, you might even look at the tape and go, but if they've got that build, if they've got that RAS, whether it's a combination of height, weight, speed, agility, all that stuff, they're going to go early because the potential's through the roof. That's that ball of clay that you guys know I hate talking about. I'd rather have the dude that performed on the field, but GMs know way more than me, and they definitely
catches hell for the RAS all the time, right? Drafting athletic freaks, but it's not just a Goody thing. That's a National Football League thing.
No doubt.
Every GM looks at that. Yeah, a lot of people are high on Zy Alexander for sure.
Mm-hmm. Up next, you got Chris Paul Jr., linebacker out of Mississippi. The Mississippi defense was, in a word, explosive. I told you guys all year long, like there's Ole Miss prospects littered throughout this, both on offense and defense, mainly on defense, but on offense as well. There's just Ole Miss players everywhere in this draft. It says, and Chris Paul Jr. played in the heart of that group. A few teams hit the transfer portal, like Lane Kiffin's Rebels, and or did I say few teams? Yeah, a few teams did. And Paul Jr. was a prized addition from Arkansas ahead of the 2024 season. He was named second team All-SEC this season, thanks partly to his speed, athleticism, and coverage skills. An all-star event can make it tough for linebackers to stand out, unless, of course, you can run like the wind and play in space. Expect Paul Jr. to look the part and for plenty of glowing practice reviews as a result. So there's the top linebacker that's been mentioned, Chris Paul Jr. So moving along here, Did it skip? It may have. It did. It did it to us. Hold on just a second. All
How
right.
can you skip over Jay Higgins, man?
Jay Higgins is one of my guys, man.
Yes.
I'm not even going to lie. And I
Yes.
got roasted a little bit for me talking about how I like Jay Higgins, but Jay Higgins isn't quite the athlete that Paul Jr. is, but he's a super cerebral linebacker in the middle, and he took a major leap forward with his game-changing plays in 2024. Higgins posted 4 interceptions on the season with a missed tackle rate in single digits. This is the kind of player who may not blow the doors off his testing, but should endear himself to scouts with his interviews and football intelligence. The first person I'm thinking of, Tim, when I hear cerebral, is I think of Luke Kuechly.
Yes.
I think of a player that, and maybe he did have great measurables. I don't know, but I never knew Luke Kuechly as like, he's a physical freak. Look how fast he is. It just seemed like before the play even started, as the ball's being snapped from the center to the quarterback, he knows exactly where the play's going. Kind of sounds like Jay Higgins got a little of that in him.
Yeah, for sure. And you talk to anyone who's ever played against Luke Kuechly, and they'll tell you that he was always there before they were. He knew you'd make a check at the line, and he's calling that check to the defense, and the defense is adjusting, and it's like he knows what you're going to do before you know what you're going to do. And that's a great way to describe it, right? A cerebral player, a guy that takes the mental prep just as seriously as the physical prep, for sure. And I would agree. I think Luke Kuechly was he wasn't undersized or anything, but when you look at the sheer athletic side of him, yeah, he didn't jump off the tape as this physically dominant, overly athletic guy. He was just the guy that knew where to be, and he was there waiting for you, making plays, blowing plays up. So if you see a guy coming out of college with those kind of attributes, these scouts and these GMs, they're going to pick up on that. And, that's a guy you want to draft, right? A guy you can bring into your locker room, and when you're doing film or when you're doing install, he's going to be paying attention, and he's going to be, dissecting those plays and know what's going on. And in a young player, that's a great attribute to have. Normally you see that from, seasoned veterans. So it's cool to see a guy coming out of the NCAA with that kind of mindset.
Yeah, no doubt. We'll go rapid fire on the rest of these. Again, you guys go check out the article. Another quarterback to look for is going to be Kyle McCord, quarterback out of Syracuse. So you got Shedeur Sanders. Sounds like he's going to be playing. You'll have Kyle McCord there as well out of Syracuse. Man, I don't know why this keeps doing this. You see what I'm dealing with over here, Tim? It's just hopping around.
It's resetting every time you scroll.
Yeah. So let's try to go rapid fire here if we can. Oronde Gadsden II, tight end / wide receiver from Syracuse as well. So a couple Syracuse boys there. And it went all the way to the bottom. So I think we're done here. Now, here we go. We got it. We're going to fight through. Come on. Work with me. Ads. Caden Prather. That's another one. Wide receiver out of Maryland. You know what? Let's do this the easy way, Tim. I wanted to give props to the student that wrote the article. We did that. Let's go to the easy way of looking at some of the top prospects in the East-West Shrine game. All right, you ready for this? Bowl. Sorry. East-West Shrine Bowl. Sorry there, Hambubger879 on Twitter for getting that wrong again. Let's see if we can zoom in and get you guys these names a little bit easier. Maybe not. All right, here we go. This is in the order of the consensus big board ranking for the players who's going to be performing or at least at the East-West Shrine Bowl. Again, you see Siobhan Ravel Jr. there. He's not going to be playing, but he'll be there for interviews. So keep in mind there's some names here you won't see on the field, but do your own research if it's a prospect you really, really like. Okay, so here we go. And I'm going to give you the overall rankings on the consensus big board of each of these prospects, okay? Number 2 overall, quarterback Shedeur Sanders out of Colorado. Number 19 overall, Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle out of Michigan. 24 overall, Siobhan Ravel Jr. out of East Carolina. He's a cornerback. Number 45 overall, Trey Harris, wide receiver from Ole Miss. 92 overall, Zy Alexander, cornerback from LSU. Number 93 overall, Braden Swinson, edge defender out of LSU. Those are the guys in the top 100. Tim, you got anything you want to add to any of these players here or any opinions in terms of the teams that are represented here, man?
Trey Harris, another receiver I've got on my short list. You guys all know I'm a Jaden Higgins stan for sure, but Trey Harris out of Ole Miss, man, watch some tape on him. Looks pretty good too. Decent size, good hands. So, I know people are looking at wide receivers because of the injuries to Scoot and the uncertainty around, Rome and stuff. So I don't think we're going to pick a receiver super early, but you never know. And a guy like Trey Harris is another one. I would say probably Jaden Higgins, Trey Harris, and Jalen Royals out of Utah State. Those would probably be like my top three right now. So when it comes to this game, I'm going to have my eyes on Trey Harris for sure.
Got it. All right. Trey Harris for me, he was when we pulled the information, he was 86th on the consensus big board. Now it looks like he's 45th. Actually, no, he was 86 on the PFF big board, I believe, but PFF grade 89.8 last year. I mean, that dude was a dog. He was damn near perfect last year. So Trey Harris definitely on some teams' radar for sure. Let's go outside of the top 100. Chris Paul Jr., we just talked about him, right? I believe he's on my cheat sheet here. Let's take a look. Linebacker, Chris Paul Jr., 87.2 PFF grade out of Ole Miss last year. So another dog. Caden Prather, we just talked about him. Mello Dotson, cornerback out of Kansas in the 112 spot. Jay Higgins out of Iowa in the 119 spot. Jay Higgins, again, he's gonna grab some attention with those PFF grades he had as well. Ricky Watt, wide receiver out of UNLV. Did he make my short list? He did not. All right. So who else we got here? Tyler Barron in the 132 spot, edge defender out of Miami. 135 overall out of Syracuse. You have edge defender Fadil Diggs. 136, you got Raheem Sanders, running back out of South Carolina. Man, that name right there, I just about said Luke Kuechly. Look at this. Tight end out of Iowa. Surprise, surprise, Iowa's got a tight end that's going to make it to the NFL. Ranked 140, Luke Lackey, I guess is how you say his name. So look for him coming in the draft this April in Green Bay. 141st out of Virginia Tech, edge defender Antoine Powell-Ryland. 143 out of Syracuse, Oronde Gadsden II. He was a guy mentioned in that article. Here's our boy Kobe Bryant out of Kansas.
Kobe.
He's in the 146 spot. I want to say we had him on the cheat sheet. I could be wrong, though. Kobe. We did not have him on the cheat sheet. Nick Nash, wide receiver out of San Jose State. That is a guy I thought was on the cheat sheet. Maybe he wasn't. I think I just drafted him once. Nick Nash, I know he had a decent PFF grade if I remember correctly. But, again, wide receiver out of San Jose State. We drafted
he's probably sub 6 feet because he's not on my list.
Got it. I want to say, who was it we took out of San Jose State? Was that our boy, I could be wrong, but wasn't that James Jones that was at San Jose State? Am I thinking right, fellas?
Where did they play?
Who?
Wasn't Devontae San Jose State?
Maybe he was. Yeah, I think he was.
It was Devontae Adams.
Yeah, maybe it was.
Chad, do your thing. Verify that.
I know there's a receiver that played for Green Bay that played at San Jose State.
I think my money's on Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong.
JJ was San Jose State. Tay was Fresno State. There you go.
Fresno State.
One of those California schools, right? So
there it is.
All right, Jordan Phillips, defensive lineman out of Maryland. He's in a 149 spot. Brandon Crenshaw Dixon, 150 offensive tackle out of Florida. The thing I'm noticing about this list, Tim, there hasn't been a whole lot of offensive linemen, right?
No.
So, let's just scroll back. Again, we'll come back to 150 real quick. Was that our first offensive lineman? I think it was. Wow. So the top offensive lineman, according to the consensus big board, and again, it's not the gospel, but in this East-West Shrine Bowl is Brandon Crenshaw Dixon, offensive tackle for Florida. The fact that there's no other offensive lineman in the top 100, Tim, these defensive linemen may eat in this game.
Oh, yeah.
So look for that to be a theme. Next, you got Nazir Stackhouse, defensive tackle from Georgia. He's in the 153 spot. You got defensive lineman Elijah Roberts in the 156 spot. Jeremiah Harris, cornerback out of Iowa in the 157 spot. CJ West, defensive lineman out of Indiana in the 161 spot. 163, cornerback Justin Wally out of Minnesota. 164, Jabir Muhammad out of Oregon, cornerback. And then, look, we got a Kentucky boy down here, 169 linebacker Jamin Dumas Johnson out of Kentucky, linebacker. He's in the 169 spot. 171, Holland Pierce, offensive tackle out of Rutgers. 172, LeJontay Wester. I kind of like LeJontay Wester. He popped up a couple times for me, and I ended up drafting him, just doing some mock draft exercises. Next, you got 173. And by the way, Lejante is out of Colorado. He played with Shedeur. 173 out of Texas Tech, running back Taj Brooks. 174, Ja'Cory Brooks, wide receiver out of Louisville. 177, Phil Maffa, running back out of Clemson. And here's Kyle McCord we mentioned, 179. So he's hitting an 179 spot. He's got a chance to raise his draft stock, Tim. Kyle McCord out of Syracuse. And again, I'm trying to think. I imagine Shedeur will be the starting quarterback for the West team, and Kyle McCord would be the starting quarterback of the East team is kind of what the rankings are looking like. So that'd be a fun little quarterback battle, man. We'll keep an eye on Kyle McCord to see if he improves his stock as well. I'm just going through and seeing if these other names pique any interest real quick. Johnny Walker Jr., love the name, by the way, edge defender out of Missouri. That's my guy right there.
Not a bad Scotch either.
Remember us talking about Joshua Gray last night, one of our late picks in our mock?
Yes.
He's 256 on the consensus big board out of Oregon State. He will be in this game, so we'll get to keep an eye on him as well. So there's Shiloh Sanders, 282, safety out of Colorado. That is Shedeur's brother, Deion's other son. So Donovan Schilling with the super chat. Best kickers in the draft.
Oh my
I don't have an answer for you, Donovan. Let me hold on just a second. We'll go to the consensus big board and see if they've actually got any. I don't think
He paid the fee, so we got to do it.
Got to do it. Got to honor it, man. Appreciate the super chat, but we'll leave that up there too, so you can be hated in the chat for bringing it up. But appreciate it, Tim. Anybody else you want to hit on here? We're getting down around the 300 mark. We're kind of wasting our time now, but anybody here recently we've mentioned that grabs your attention, man?
Yeah, there's two receivers that I've got notes here to keep an eye on. Ricky White out of UNLV.
Okay.
And Ja'Cory Brooks out of Louisville. Those guys were, I think Ricky White is a little higher on the list. There he is, 130 out of UNLV. He's a guy to keep an eye on. And then Ja'Cory Brooks out of Louisville. Another right there. Yep, 174. Two bigger body receivers, too, to keep an eye on.
Tim trying to get us a bully out there wide. I love it.
Yeah.
You got to get it, right? Because you got the smaller guys, right? Like, I know they're not tiny, but like Tay Wicks, shifty route runner, Jaden Reed, your quintessential slot, Romeo Dobbs, great hands, but he does, you get a big frame dude, it could help.
Yep. Yeah, we don't need another Bo Melton or another Jaden Reed. I want the next DK Metcalf if we don't pick him up somehow.
Right.
Let's do it.
All right, let's do our bidding here. Kickers for the East-West Shrine Bowl. There it is. That's what you paid for, Donovan.
There you go.
Now let's back up and see if there's any. I may have to exit out here real quick. Anything else you want to add? I think we pretty much covered the East-West Shrine roster, right, Tim? We're good there.
Yep. No, I think we're good. I actually got to step away for 1 second, Clay.
You're good. Take your time, buddy. Go fill that cup back up, man. All right, let me see if I can find the kickers just for craps and giggles here for our boy Donovan, since he paid the fee and wanted that kicker talk. Let me hop back out to the mock draft database and see if we got anything here. Surely we'll have somebody that's going to be entering this draft. I just don't know if they'll have a ranking or not. So we'll take a look. And you could tell that mock draft database is getting used big time. It is so slow right now. It's not even funny. Let's see if this kicker will load up for us. They may get mad at us. Here we go. All right, we got kicker talk for you, Donovan.
All right, I'm back. We can talk kicker now.
It seems like hands down the top kicker in this draft, according to the consensus big board. And again, this is the entire draft. This isn't the East-West Shrine game, okay? 99th out of Miami, Andres Borregales. I think we got it. Borregales.
That sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah, Borregales out of Miami. He's moved up 2 spots here recently. He peaked at 99. That's where he's sitting right now. So this is the highest his stock has been the entire time. So look for him. That's probably your top kicker. Now, Ryan Fitzgerald out of Florida State. He peaked at 149, but for some reason, Tim, he dropped all the way to 357. Dominic Zavada, kicker out of Michigan, peaked at 183. He's now down to 427. So these guys must have a rough year. It sounds like the only kicker the mock draft database is expecting to have drafted is probably Andres Borregales. So keep in mind that
boring. Sign McManus now, Goody. If you need any more proof, take a look at what we're looking at. Resign McManus.
I think I'm supposed to roll the R there, to be honest with you, but I didn't. I don't have enough coffee in me to roll the R this early in the morning. But yeah, I'm with you, Tim. We got to get McManus back here, man.
Yep.
And I would love it if we could keep him from testing the market. But at this point, I don't know if that's going to happen. I think they'll probably let him test the market, and that number might get inflated. I don't care. You got it. You know, if there's another kicker out there that you say, hey, okay, yeah, we'll overpay for him too. I don't really know of that guy right now. Nick Folk was the only kicker, if I remember correctly, had a higher field goal percentage than Brandon McManus. And Nick Folk ain't got near the leg strength that McManus does at this point in his career. You know, Nick Folk's he could retire at any moment, but he's extremely accurate within like 40 yards, all that stuff. Those chip shots, he's your dude, right? Yeah, you got to get McManus back here, man. We talk about you're willing to overpay for great. You never overpay for good. McManus was great last year.
Yep.
He had the second best field goal percentage.
Get it done. 3-year deal. Let's do it, Goody. Come on.
Got to do it. Yeah. Donovan Schilling says, got a funny feeling we lose him in testing the market. Shaking my head, give him a lifetime contract. And that's the thing. That window to re-sign him, I don't want to say it's closed. You can still do that, but he made it through the season healthy, and now he gets a chance to test the market if he wants to, right? That's the point. Donovan is like, if you're going to re-sign him at this point without him testing the market, he's got to look at that and go, damn, that's too good to pass up on. Let me go get that right now, you know?
Yep.
So it's almost like you should have done it earlier in the year, right? But as Donovan mentions right here, can we franchise tag him? I believe you can. Let's see what the franchise tag would be for a kicker. It's Joseph Ryle here says, give McManus whatever the hell he wants.
Thank you. Thank you.
You heard it from a fan right here.
Let's see. Let me ask Google here real quick. NFL kicker, all right, franchise tag salary. Okay. Let's see what it is here. Of course.
We all know how much the players love being franchise tagged.
Yeah, no doubt. Let me ask it this time. What is the NFL franchise tag for kicker? All right, let's see what it says here now. Showing every position pretty much the 2024. Of course, it links me to an article where there's someone, you know what we're asking, and they're going to try to show that they're really smart at writing. It looks like the franchise tag in 2024 was $5.9 million. So you bring up a great point, Donovan. I think it was Donovan that mentioned it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, try to get a deal done, right? And if you can't, franchise tag him. I mean, help me in the chat here, guys. We're allowed to negotiate with players on our roster that were on our roster last year that are now free agents, right? Like, we can talk to them. There's no rule against that, right? Like, when the season ends, you're not allowed to try to negotiate. You know what I'm saying, Tim? I think we're allowed to, right? We're the only team that has those rights until they hit the open free agent market. Yeah, Josh
right.
Martin says yes. I just want to cover. I know it sounds like a silly question, but I just want to make sure because sometimes the rules get nuts, right? So yeah, if that's the case, then go try to re-sign him right now. See if you can get a deal worked out. If not, worst case scenario, again, we're looking at $5.9 million as of last year. That'll probably go up. So it'll probably be over $6 million. Listen, I'm not excited about that, but also with the franchise tag, you could tack on a couple voidable years if you wanted to, right? And say, okay, 6 years, let's spread it out over 3 years. We'll have 2 voidables. That way it only ties up $2 million in cap space this year. So there is ways around that. Although $6 million, I don't think that's crazy, a crazy number for someone who had the second best field goal percentage in the league. I think of that Chicago game too, Tim. Colder than a well digger's booty, right? And that guy went out there, went to LaFleur. I can hit this 55-yarder, no problem. He knuckled that thing. He knew exactly how to hit that.
He played the wind perfect, man.
And just punched it through. And listen, he may not be as good next year. I want to be on the record right now saying this, Tim.
Yeah.
I hope McManus comes back. But if we expect McManus to be 93% field goal percentage next year, 95% field goal percentage, you're setting yourself up to be disappointed. What he did this year was above and beyond what most kickers in the league do. I would expect him to fall back somewhere around 85%. And what else can you ask for, a kicker, So I'm going to go ahead and put that on the record. There's going to be people expecting him to hit 93, 95% next year. I think it's highly unlikely. I hope it happens, but I think it's highly unlikely. So
I like the idea of keeping McManus around because, we do have a kicker on our practice squad that is kind of a project, young player, right? International project player. Why not get McManus for another year or two while you develop this kid? And, we might be in a situation where, we can do what we do with quarterbacks. We can do that with a kicker for a change and have someone kind of learning behind a veteran and then taking over, in the future. So I hope they get a deal done with McMoney.
Definitely. Brambo in the chat says, John Love, baby, out of Virginia Tech, man. I don't know what happened to him last year, Brambo, but look at this. He started off in the 399 spot, and by the end of the year, up to now, January 25th, he's down to 540. And again, I never like this, Tim. This happens to a lot of prospects. You'll see after the season's over, all of a sudden they just drop. And it's like, what happened? And you'll see other guys, right? It's like there hasn't been another game played, and their stock all of a sudden jumps. That's called politicking, folks. That's why we try to get our information in from the Consensus Big Board as early as possible before all that nonsense happens. So there you go. There's your kicker talk, man. That went long. But again, it's important, man. It's important that we have Brandon McManus back or go get a kicker that's equal to him. If Goody says, actually, this guy, I project him to be better this year than McManus, I'm simply saying we cannot go back to the whole let's take a shot in the draft or let's sign a couple undrafted free agents to start this over again, man. Get McManus back in here, dude. So.
Yep. Get her done.
All right. I think we covered everything. We finally got that article in, Tim.
Nice. You throw away my Post-it note reminder. Look at that.
I'm going to erase it off my little whiteboard reminder here. So, yeah. We got the East-West Shrine Bowl coming up. There we go. Prince.
That kicker talk was good value for $2, in my opinion.
It really was. You know how I know it was good value? Because I watched the viewership drop as we continue to talk about it. So.
We got $2, but we lost 10 viewers. That's all right.
But who was it? Donovan? Was it Donovan that did it?
Yeah, Donovan hooked it up.
Donovan. There you go. And he also throws in this little gem. # fire Joe Barry. Right. So there you go. Get Joe Barry out of here again. Can we fire Joe Barry again? That's what he's saying, Tim. Can we hire him and fire him again just to feel better? So
we're gonna give him some
go. Anything else you want to hit on, Bub? We wrap this thing up.
No, I think we're good. Jaden Higgins, not T. Higgins. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
Check.
It was on your name last night. Is it? Oh yeah, here we go. Let me drop it down. Look at Tim's name, guys. Jaden Higgins, not T. Higgins. That's his theme for this draft. Watch the Bears or the Lions draft him, man.
Don't you dare.
Remember last year, Tim? Who was your guy? Was it Rakestraw?
And it's Rakestraw, and the damn Lions took him. Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Watching them all year. And listen, just because we like prospects don't mean they're going to be great. I don't know how Rakestraw did. I want to say he was hurt most of the year, but it's still, for me, it's quality entertainment watching us fall in love, myself included, fall in love with a prospect, and then a damn division rival go sign them. It's like, Anyway, that's it, Tim. Appreciate your time, man. We'll be back tonight, 7 p.m. Central for PTA Live. We'll continue to update the board, get more information in. We're about to add a new wave of qualifiers for that board. And, we'll be releasing that information in real time as the board updates. We'll continue to give you guys kind of a glimpse as where the board sits. Again, right now, a lot's going to change. Let me just flash it on the screen real quick and show you where we're at in terms of the our big board, the PFF big board. That, again, I want to give a shout out to Emilio for spending all this time helping put it together. He's way better at spreadsheets than I am, and he's done one hell of a job putting it together. But we had this most recent qualifier put in. We won't get into the entire formula. It's not important. The goal is to give you guys a final grade as we wrap up putting the board together. But this is how it sits right now. This is in order of value in our opinion right now. The number one prospect in the draft is Mason Graham, defensive lineman out of Michigan. Number 2 is Travis Hunter, cornerback out of Colorado. Tied for number 2 is Abdul Carter, edge defender out of Penn State. Running back Ashton Gianti is in the number 4 spot. And then that's really your top tier. There's 4 guys in our top tier. And most draft boards will probably have all of these guys in the same tier. I like to kind of break it down a little bit further. So you see this score over here, that the lower number wins, okay? So you've got basically, as it sits right now, 1, 2, 3, 4 prospects in the top tier. And then going to the second tier, you've got Cam Stone, cornerback out of Hawaii, Bryson Daly, quarterback out of Army. I want you to keep in mind, Cam Stone and Bryson Daly are going to sink out of sight, okay? So if this was their real grade, that's where they'd be. They're not going to be nowhere near that. But we have to get more information to throw them in. Like Bryson Daly, some are projecting he won't even get drafted. He was a quarterback out of Army. He's just one of those dudes that because of his PFF grade is like hovering at the top of our board. When we go to the next step, he's going to sink out of sight. But he's a fun prospect. People were kind of looking at him going, can he be the next Taysom Hill type player, right? So you're not going to see him. I don't think you're going to see him nowhere near the top 3 rounds probably, but we'll see how it does going forward. So the next real prospect here in this tier will be Cam Ward, quarterback out of Miami, and Tyler Warren, tight end out of Penn State. So just to give you a quick glimpse into how our board's coming together, again, these 2 guys not going to be there toward the top. Cam Stone out of Hawaii and Bryson Daly out of Army, unless something crazy happens when we get to the next stage of qualifiers. So going to be fun. Donovan Schilling says 60 watching, 22 likes. Hit that like button. Appreciate that, Don. If you guys would, just take a quick second. We hate asking, but take a quick second to hit that like button for us. We greatly appreciate it. Tim, thank you for your time, man. We'll see you tonight, Bob.
Yes, sir. Be ready to go. 7 p.m. Central, right?
That's it. Everybody stay warm. Have a great day. We'll see you 7 p.m. Central for PTA Live.
And we go.
We're out. Bye, guys.